Helena pointed out the tomb, the rock, and the true cross itself, hidden inside a nearby cistern. As the day begins, the faithful gather at the unction stone, where they believe Christ was washed and prepared for burial.
This is what makes these places so special, knowing that it happened here. And of course, some people may say, how do you know it's exactly here or not 10 meters away? It doesn't matter. I know that it was here, okay? And even if it wasn't here, for me, it was here.
Bishop Nikephoros is a Greek Orthodox clergyman. He has served in Jerusalem for 30 years.
By seeing these places, touching them, we strengthen our faith. With our imagination, we can feel the emotions and the feelings of the people that came before us. And this, being able to imagine this, is like hearing the stone speaking to you.
Sepulchre, dome, wall. Three holy sites within yards of each other.
Either there's God or there's no God. But if the God was anywhere on the earth, it was in Jerusalem. And for those who have faith, these rocks are a testimony to His presence. The other remains, they are like the tombstones. To pretend that nothing happened here and that these are only stones, it's like reading a poem and seeing the grammar in it and the spelling, but not feeling the beauty of the poetry. When you look at the stones, it's stones, but the history soaks them with meaning.
Jerusalem is also a real earthly city. Around its core sprawl shopping centres, modern suburbs and bypasses. But it is the ancient walled city at the very centre of Jerusalem that is its heart. Within its walls lives one of the most diverse communities in the world. Muslims, Christians and Jews live packed together in an area of less than a square mile. It is a warren of twisting, winding streets filled with shops selling everything from pistachio nuts to religious souvenirs. 4 groups have their own quarter. The Christians, the Jews, the Muslims and the Armenians. Each have their own shops and markets established over the centuries. But it is impossible for any of them to live totally in isolation. And in Jerusalem, it is also impossible to escape from the city's history, from its long and often violent past.
Jerusalem is layer over layer. If you just open any asphalt road, we are already on the earlier, let's say, Ottoman Turkish days. And a few feet below you reach into older Mamluk, Crusader, Byzantine, Roman, Second Emperor period, First Emperor period. In some places the accumulation is very thick, might reach to 20 and even 30 meters.
Ronnie Reich is an Israeli archaeologist. He is working at the foot of the Western Wall. For him, Jerusalem's past can be as vivid as its present.
I'm just leaning to the western wall of the Temple Mount area, and here on one of the huge stones of the Herodian masonry is a sort of graffiti in Hebrew. Hebrew script has not changed in its shape in the last 2,000 years, and actually any school child can read this very easily. This is a verse from the book of Isaiah, from the Bible, and you will see, and your heart will rejoice, and your bones will, like grass, and one word is missing, flourish or blossom or so. We know that below this pile of huge stones lies a street, a paved street. Its building was done during Herod's time, that means in the 1st century BCE.
King Herod was a successful if ruthless ruler. He killed one of his wives and several of his sons when he found they were plotting against him. But he made his capital, Jerusalem, into one of the greatest cities of the era. His most splendid achievement was the second Jewish temple. On the pinnacle of the holy mountain, he created a vast edifice of dazzling white stone with a facade plated in gold.
I feel that I am in a position a little bit different than other archaeologists working in other places in the world, for one reason. Because I myself dig here my own forefathers 2,000 years ago. This brings sometimes mixed feelings, because I'm digging the destruction, the catastrophe of my forefathers.
The stones that Ronnie Reich's team are lifting from this ancient road are the very stones from which Herod's temple was built. In the year 66, the Jews rebelled against Roman rule. 4 years later, Roman legions sacked Jerusalem and leveled the temple. The scene was horrific. The city's first great historian, Josephus, wrote,
"Around the altar, a pile of corpses was accumulating. Down the steps of the sanctuary flowed a stream of blood, and the bodies of those killed above went sliding to the bottom. The victors slaughtered all who were caught. The slaughter made the whole city run with blood."
Jerusalem was utterly destroyed, and less than 70 years later the Jews were banished from this their most holy city. It was a defining moment, one that shaped the identity of the Jewish people ever after. As they scattered across Europe and the Middle East in exile, they never allowed the memory of Jerusalem and its place at the center of their life to die.
Jerusalem is at the core of Jewish prayer. When Jews pray, we face Jerusalem. We face Israel from outside of Israel, Jerusalem from inside Israel, the Temple Mount from inside Jerusalem. In our prayers, we talk constantly about rebuilding Jerusalem.
As he digs, Ronnie Reich is still uncovering remnants of the Jewish people's great loss.
You see, it's a very small bottle, and this was simply trapped here in between the stones when they collapsed here during the Roman destruction. This is 1925 years ago.
Past and present are always meeting here on the same level. Heaven and earth are meeting here on the same level. You cannot here look at the past as something that is buried, and you cannot look at heaven as something that is somewhere above you.
Directly above Ronnie's dig lies a set of steps. Less than 40 years before the destruction of Jerusalem, a figure had walked up these steps towards the Temple Mount. He had come as a pilgrim to celebrate the Jewish feast of Passover. His name was Yeshua, or Jesus. Millions of people have come here since, following in his footsteps. Every Easter, thousands of Christian pilgrims gather in Jerusalem to celebrate Christ's crucifixion and resurrection. Pilgrims have been coming to Jerusalem since the days of Constantine. In the Middle Ages, they would travel from all across Europe, risking robbery, starvation, and death, that they might enter Christ's tomb and touch the true cross. On Palm Sunday, the faithful gather to commemorate Christ's entry into Jerusalem. It is the beginning of the holiest week in the Christian calendar. some, the pilgrimage to Jerusalem is for life.
About 10 years ago, I was a rather successful corporate person in the States. Several houses, cars, a lot of girlfriends. And one day, I woke up with a real empty feeling, and I started asking myself some very philosophical questions. And so I sold all of my